in my boat.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Ryno. Can you feel it? Are we starting a winning streak? Does it begin tonight here in Sacramento? Tell you what, I will say this. The Kings need to start doing something better at home. 5-7 at home so far this season. Game 25 of the calendar is already here. Remember, we said sample size right around 25. We have hit it. What do we know? What do we don't know? Still a little bit up in the air, but heck of a game in San Antonio for the Kings, picking up the big victory. It's a big victory. Second night of a back-to-back, scoring 140 points. Something surprising that Mike Brown said after the game. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. We'll get you ready for tonight. No Isaac Jones, a late scratch. He is dealing with an illness, so the Kings will be without him. Also, we'll let you know what's going on this side or on the side of the Jazz and their injuries. So stay with us. We got a full night of Kings Jazz right here for you. Halftime with Jerry Reynolds. Grant and I wrap it up on the post game right here on If You Don't Like That.
Grant and Ryan break it down. It's Sacktown, we're the crown.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the time to get
Williams, the D-Mark.
Fox. Goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like.
Give me a hell yeah.
Let's go. Yes, indeed. What's up, Dennis? How's everybody doing, my man BJ? What's up? Nice little night for Sacramento Kings basketball in December. Sunday night, 6 o'clock start. At least it's not one of those 3 o'clock starts. We all know those 3 o'clock starts don't always go too well for this team, but have they found something? Can they continue to shoot the three ball a little bit better? Things looked pretty good in San Antonio, mind you, without Wemby. Also, you had some ejections in that one that changed the way that the Kings played down low, but all in all, a good one for them. They bounced back tonight against the Jazz, a team who scored 140 points the other night against the Timberwolves. 140 points from the Jazz? We'll break it down here in a little bit, but let me know how everybody's doing. What's up, Lids? Hope you are having a great night. Karen, what is up? Nice win by the Seahawks. Yet, Jay, I caught like this much football today. I've seen about this much, and like in the back of my head, I've had Liam's picks kind of jumping out here and there, and I've seen some of the scores. I'm pretty sure, Al, if you're watching, I'm pretty sure he picked the Rams over the Eagles. I could be wrong, but yeah, full day of football. How about college football yesterday? We're going to get to the Kings. It's all good, but a heck of a college football Saturday, and the College Football Playoff Committee got it right. They got it right. They put SMU in. Big stuff for SMU. I am so glad that they got in over Alabama, especially considering how Clemson won that game last night. That was nuts. Heck of a kick by that kid, though. 56 yards. John, beam again, please. Hello. Hello to you, John. What's up? Let me know where you're watching from. Thanks for being here. We're looking forward to this one tonight. The Western Conference really is a goofy thing right now. You know, not much is changing in terms of the teams at the top. But look at what's going on right now with some of the teams that were in the middle, like the Los Angeles Lakers. What the heck's going on with them? They've lost 3 in a row now, and their net rating's a negative 4.2. -4.2. The Lakers are now only one game over 500. And the reason I point that out is I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because the Kings need to take care of business here this week. But they've got three big ones with the Lakers this month. But they've dropped all the way down to the 10 spot in the West. The Clippers hanging on a little bit at 6, but look at Denver falling back. 9th, Phoenix 8th. Kevin Durant dealing with an ankle injury. That Grizzlies team that the Kings saw earlier this week, or I guess last week since it is Sunday now, they continue to move up. And how about the Dallas Mavericks? The Dallas Mavericks, winners of 7 in a row. They are charging right now at 16-8. They started out a little bit slow. So every damn game is important for the Kings. We've talked about that. Tonight, it is the Jazz on the menu. Third meeting this season between these two teams. Here's what you need to know. No Jordan Clarkson tonight. Kyle Flil. I can't talk right now. Sorry. Coming off a full day. Let me lay out my day really quick. It was my mom's 70th birthday brunch. So we sprinted out, spent the afternoon with her. Big shout out to everybody that put that on, and sprinted home to get back for Kings basketball. So I'm getting my vocals warmed up, getting the mouth warmed up. So Kyle Filipowski, he is a game time decision. Larry Marketing, also a game time decision. Both were questionable, depending on where you're looking. But as I said at the top, the big news is no Isaac Jones for the Kings tonight. Now, coming off the game in San Antonio, some good momentum. We saw some bench scoring again. And don't forget, we are going to be back at halftime. Ignore that Spurs graphic, but do not ignore the fact that Jerry Reynolds will be here with us at the intermission to talk the first half of this one tonight. The game in San Antonio, the Kings put up 140 points. The first quarter, you're thinking, uh-oh, here we go. Offensive rebounds. Champagny raining threes. All he does is spot up, and it's like, is it gonna be one of those nights? The Spurs jumped out to a pretty big lead, double digits, and then the Kings charged back in the second quarter. Now, it wasn't the second quarter that impressed me the most. It was the third quarter that blew me off my seats. Check this shot chart out. That was the third quarter for the Kings, where they came out and absolutely dominated and put this game completely out of reach, in my opinion. And it wasn't just the fact that they outscored the Spurs 31-27 in the quarter. It was how the Kings did it. Look at that shot chart. They came out, big dose of DeMar DeRozan. They left Domas under the hoop, which allowed him to eat, pick up the loose rebounds, get the offensive rebounds, put them back. It was an efficient quarter. The Kings shot 48.3% from the field in the quarter. They hit all of their free throws. Now, the three-pointer, not necessarily as good, didn't need to be. That's the point. Look at the Kings only had a couple of attempts in that third quarter, and from there on out, it was smooth sailing. Keon Ellis, Kevin Huerter, giving the Kings a huge bump, a huge pickup off the bench in this game. The bench, something this team's worried about, something all of you have worried about up until this point of the season. Good to see those guys get into the flow of the action. The Kings ultimately pull it out. Some people are a little bit upset that Mike Brown didn't pull the starters out until 3:11, but regardless, the only thing that the Kings come away with in terms of an injury is Domas chips a tooth. He is all good and set to go tonight. But very encouraging now that we have a few games under our belt with Malik Monk in the starting lineup. And Keon Ellis, by the way, your defensive player of the game against the Spurs. Look at that guy. And it's so funny to me because Keon went from starting last year to starting all of the preseason to then out of the starting lineup, then into the starting lineup, and then in Mike Brown's rotation, and then had 3 bad plays in a row against San Antonio, and all of a sudden out of Mike Brown's rotation. Well, he went back to Keon. Now, remember, he went to Keon for a couple minutes in Memphis, 2 minutes. which was a little bit odd. San Antonio, he comes out, gives him some extended run, and Keon produces. He does what he does. Keon Ellis, by the way, is the top 3-point shooter on this Kings roster right now. And there's enough of a sample size there to show that he is shooting it at a much better clip than he was last year. Not only that, take a look at where he is shooting it from. He is shooting it from the corners predominantly. And that is one of the spots that Mike Brown has preached. Get to the corners, get to the corners, get to the corners. Keon's doing it. So after the game, Coach Brown was asked, Keon played a great game. Kevin Huerter played a great game. Can we expect them, or at least Keon, to now be back in Mike's rotation? Here's what Coach Brown had to say.
He played well tonight, but nobody's guaranteed anything on this team. I'm gonna play Fox. I'm gonna play DeMar. I'm gonna play Domas. I'm gonna play Malik. I'm gonna play Keegan. Most likely Kevin. Everybody else has to continue to earn it, and it's Malik. Excuse me. That's Keon. That's Isaac. That's whoever else is left. But if you look at any team out there, lineups change all the time, rotations change all the time, and there's nobody out there, especially any good team, where you're guaranteeing everybody's going to play all the time. You just got to stay ready. Orlando played tonight. I don't know when the last time he played. Alex played tonight. I don't know the last time he played. So everybody's got to stay ready. Keon was huge. He was really, really big for us tonight on both ends of the floor, and he's going to keep getting opportunities. But like I said, there's nothing that's guaranteed for anybody on this team, especially the guys that I mentioned after the mainstays.
A little bit of a weird soundbite, right? A little bit of a weird soundbite for this reason. Mike Brown, throughout his time in Sacramento, his rotation, and whether you want to blame it on the front office, whether you want to put it on coaching, matchups, whatever it may be, the rotation has constantly been changing, right? And the fact that Keon fell out of Mike Brown's favor, but then worked his way back in, or at least got his opportunity back, and has now been back into the swing of things, is great. That's really good. You need Keon Ellis on the court with that second unit to have your best second unit on the floor. But I'm trying to get into the psyche of what Mike Brown's trying to do here. Obviously, the starters, they're not going to be touched. We know that. Your stars are going to play. The core has to be on the court for this team to win. But is this, and I'm going to pose it to you, I like the mindset of that as a coach, right? You got to earn your minutes. If you're not playing well, nothing's guaranteed to you. But here's the problem. The Kings bench is one of the worst in the NBA. Where are you going to go besides Keon Ellis? Who you going to turn to? And he mentioned Alex Len. Well, Alex Len had to come in because Domas went to the locker room, right? And Zach Collins, different type of player. Zach Collins, by the way, he's flipping the bird. He gets fined $35,000 for that. Zach Collins did not look right to me the other night. Something looked different about him, and I could not put my finger on it. But back to Mike Brown. What do you think of that soundbite? Because it's one thing to say it, and it's great in theory, but how do you really practice that right now? What are you going to do? Give Doug McDermott Keon's minutes? No. So very interesting that Coach is drawing a line in the sand with some of these guys. Now, granted, Coach does coach Domas, Foxy very hard. He holds them accountable. And usually he lets them hold the team accountable for the most part, unless things come off the rails, and then they step it back. And Coach Brown takes right back in charge of things. But very interesting to me, those comments. So let me know what you think about those. And tonight's game, again, the Kings favored by double digits, 10.5 points against the Jazz. We've seen the Jazz a couple times already this season. We know how those have gone. The Kings winners in both matchups. Last matchup, the Kings won 113-96. Matchup before that, or excuse me, that was game one. Game two, 121-117. Now, that was the game where De'Aaron Fox went off for 49 after his 60-point game. So we're still waiting word on whether or not Lauri Markkanen will play. Jordan Clarkson out. Kyle Filipowski is also a game time decision and questionable. Donald, technically the Kings are just a few games away from the 9th and 10th. They are. It's a great point, Donald. The Kings are 7.5 out from first place, which is Oklahoma City. They're a game and a half out, and I'm not looking at the games going on right now or that have already gone on today. But as of the start of today, they were a game and a half behind the Lakers. Now, as of now, the Lakers would have the tiebreaker on that because they played once and the Lakers beat them. But that's why those three matchups are so big. And, it was also big, too, for the Kings to come back and get a victory against the San Antonio team that had beat you twice already this year. So big things coming tonight. Hopefully the Kings can come out with some energy at the G1C. We'll be talking some game plan here in a little bit. Moss, what's up? I got eliminated from fantasy playoffs today, but a dominant Kings W would ease your pain. I feel that. I see you. It is fantasy football playoff time. That is true. That is very true. Isaac Jones has earned his minutes. He's playing as good as a player like him can play, valuable minutes. I don't necessarily disagree with you, Donald. He's doing a lot between going back and forth with Stockton, working with different development coaches. But the fact, and I said this on the postgame last show, the biggest compliment that I can give to Isaac Jones is the stars trust him. Your core trusts him. When you have Foxy that's throwing lobs to him, and I'm not talking about open court lobs, I'm talking about high-low, half-court sets. When they are willing to give him the ball down low, that is a big statement for a player that young. And again, going back to what I said about the third quarter, let me put this shot chart back up again, because this to me was how the Kings offense is supposed to run. Everything to the hoop. Aggressive cuts off of picks. They've gone away from the DHO and they're moving back, or shouldn't say moving back. They are moving to the pick and roll. And Malik Monk, a big reason for that, the two-man game. In fact, look at how much more two-man game you've been getting out of Fox and Sabonis as of late. I hope that relationship, that chemistry continues to grow. And against a Utah team that's 5-17 and definitely not any better on the road, 3-8, the Kings got to get this one done. Let's look at the schedule, the way it sets up the rest of December. Now, the Kings are going to have those filler games that we talked about since they are not going to be part of the Emirates NBA Cup anymore. Darn. Is anybody looking forward to the Kings raising the Emirates Cup banner? I don't know. The Lakers, they should have never raised theirs. Anyways, here's how the schedule looks for the Kings as we check this out. You got Utah tonight. Now, this is going to be a nice break for the Kings. I think this is important to point out. You play tonight, you don't play again till Thursday, and then you don't play again until the following Monday. It's very rare during the regular season that you get that much time off. So the Kings need to take advantage of that. What it means is when you're at this point in the season, rarely do you actually practice where you have contact practices. Most things are shooting and walkthroughs. This will be an opportunity not only for some of the guys to heal up, but an opportunity for this coaching staff to put adjustments in. One of the biggest adjustments that I think many of us are looking for, or at least a big discussion point on this channel, not only in the chat, but amongst Jerry, Grant, and myself, is the three-point defense. We saw the other night against the Spurs, Champagnie, a guy that all he does is spot up. Donald put it in the chat. The Kings were leaving him when the ball was on the strong side. That means the side of the court where Champagny is in the corner, the ball is on that half side of the half court. And the defender that's supposed to be on Champagny is helping out on either the person or the player with the ball or the player that's coming off of a pick and roll into the hoop, leaving Champagny open. Can the Kings put some type of adjustment in to change that? Do they really need that much help with the on-ball defense? I'm starting to think they don't, because it comes down to communication. Mike Brown talked about that also after the game in San Antonio. The communication has been a little bit better. But back to the schedule, you get some time off, and the Kings' schedule is brutal the rest of the way out. But this next 3-week stretch is about as friendly a stretch as you're going to see for the rest of the season. This is that area that y'all are talking about where the Kings might be able to make up some ground. You got New Orleans, who has been injured. We know about them. McCollum is back. Also, DeJounte Murray is back. Their season probably done, but they're still going to play spoilers as they continue to get healthy and healthier and healthier. Brandon Ingram, he has also been a bugaboo for the Kings. And remember, the Kings did not beat them one time last year. So you have them, should be a dub. That should definitely be a victory, although that is a tough travel, going all the way to New Orleans for just one game. Then you're back at home against Denver. First time that you're seeing them. They have been in a little bit of a slide. They've lost 2 in a row coming into play today. They are sitting in the 9 hole in the West. And then you go Los Angeles with a day off in between those 2 games, Indiana, Detroit, and the Lakers again in LA. What do you think if we look at this stretch right now? Let's start with the Utah game. So we've got Utah, New Orleans, Denver, 2 LAs, Indiana, Detroit, and another LA. That is a 7-game stretch. Realistically, what should the Kings do? What do you want to see the Kings do over that 7-game stretch? What is a realistic win total there? Put it in the chat. Let me know. Also, let me know where you're watching the show from. Would love to hear from you. And then the Kings finish out the month. They see Dallas for the first time this year. In fact, they finish out 2024 with Dallas until January 1st, when they kick off the brand new year against the Philadelphia 76ers. So that's how the schedule sets up. We're getting you ready for the Jazz and the Kings tonight. What are your keys to this one? I have a few keys that I want to talk about. We'll go over what the Jazz did in their last game against the Trailblazers. Again, they scored 141 points. It's the same Trailblazers team that beat the Kings the last time they played. Thursday's next game, need this win. That's the thing. You go into this stretch where you get a little bit of time off. It's much better to have a win under your belt. And granted, it's not always easy to beat a team 4 times in a season. But when you are playing in division, you got to get that done. And that's what Utah is. They're a division team at the bottom of the Western Conference. So can the Kings handle their business? Lydia wants to see the perimeter defended and making your threes. You saw some signs of life from Keegan Murray last game. Cannot complain about that. But did you notice how when the Kings are running that aggressive offense where the ball's moving around, the Kings had, 33 assists last game? No, not 33. Let me get back to that page for you. I want to be accurate for you. The Kings had 33. I was right. They had 33 assists last game on 51 made shots. Here's the other number that I'm going to point you to. The Kings got 90 shots up last game. That's a little bit higher than they usually get up, which means the pace has been better. Jerry Reynolds has wanted to see some more pressure on the defense. I don't disagree there. Wouldn't mind seeing some of that. Wolf wants to see energy the first 5 minutes. Finchie's keys are... Come on, Finchy. Damn. Trying to get some Kings keys and you're putting food keys in? Come on, my man. Let's see. Waiting for Devin Carter. Well, continue waiting. It's getting closer, but not till the end of December. until he is reevaluated. Early February, end of December. Kings 500 by the end of December. All right, Flores, same thing from from Furious. Respect it. Must win, then rest. Yeah, it's a big time for them to get some much needed practice in. We've talked about every scenario under the sun with this team. If this thing comes off the rails, how they can get it back on track. And it just feels like this team is a little bit too good to be where they're sitting record wise. And this would be a time where you can figure it out. Get a win against a team like Utah that you should beat more times than not. Get a little bit of rest, get some practice, and you're good to go. Jay, love the jacket. How much? I don't know. It was free, Jay, but it's a nice, comfy jacket. Thank you, buddy. Fit C Web. I disagree with potentially costing your team wins by trying to prove some point to Keon, right? He's not stupid and not likely to make the same series of mistakes. Let him play through. Now, it's a great point in this sense. How many times can y'all think of off the top of your head where it's like, oh, Keon, knuckleheaded play, boneheaded play. Keon cost us the game. Like, there was Buddy Hield was always good for a few of those. We could go back many years. Keon's not that guy. So that was really surprising because I guess for me and Grant and I, we've had this conversation on the show. A lot of this happened when the Kings were traveling on the road. So not a big contingent of the Sacramento media was with them to ask the question about why Keon Ellis was not getting minutes. But it did seem like that Keon was a little bit kind of made an example of, because Mike Brown, remember the game they lost where Keon had the 3 turnovers in a row? Coach mentioned it 3 or 4 different times in his post-game press conference, and he never called Keon out by name, which was really interesting. And then Keon doesn't play the next game, doesn't play the game after that. Again, here were Mike Brown's comments after this last one.
Everybody else has to continue to earn it. And it's Malik, that's Keon, that's Isaac, that's whoever else is left. But if you look at any team out there, lineups change all the time, rotations change all the time, and there's nobody out there, especially any good team, where you're guaranteeing everybody's going to play all the time. You just got to stay ready. Orlando played tonight. I don't know when the last time he played. Alex played tonight. I don't know the last time he played. So everybody's got to stay ready. Keon was huge. He was really, really big for us tonight on both ends of the floor, and he's going to keep getting opportunities. But like I said, there's nothing that's guaranteed for anybody on this team, especially the guys that I mentioned after the mainstays.
Dennis hopping back in. Herter and Keon need to continue to play good, plus other players off the bench need to step up. We know what we already get with the starters. Indeed. And I like what we're getting from the starters. I thought Foxy, not this last game, but the game before in Memphis, a few too many threes. I would have liked to see him get to the paint. Now, the defense was a little bit tougher that game. Memphis, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, but we all know the best version of Fox is the Fox that is downhill in seeking the paint. Patrick, hey Ryan, Miami defeats Cleveland tonight, their best game of the season. Hero scored 34 in the fourth quarter. Really, 3 points off. 3 points off Steph's record, or Klay Thompson's record. How about that? Good pull, Patrick. In fact, why don't we catch y'all up on what's going on in the NBA today and tonight? Right now, you got a close game going on in Orlando. The Magic leading 107-103 over the Phoenix Suns, 2:32 left in the third quarter. Pay attention to that. If Phoenix loses that game, that's going to be their third loss in a row. They just hit a 3, so it is a 1-point lead there. Memphis up big over the Wizards, 98-70 in Washington. The Pelicans down 6 to the Spurs. 3:05 left in the third quarter there. The T-Wolves and the Warriors just tipping off. T-Wolves with a 3-point lead over the Warriors. You've got the Rockets and the Clippers coming up here in just a little bit. Our game, the Kings and the Jazz games earlier today. 76ers topped the Bulls 108-100. The Bucks 118-113 over the Nets. The Hornets 113-109 over the Pacers. Interesting. The Nuggets, how about this? Jokic, a 48-point, 14-rebound game, putting the Nuggets 141-111 over the Hawks. And as Patrick mentioned, the Heat 122-113 over Cleveland, handing them one of their few losses of this season. So he had all 34 in the fourth quarter. No points in the fourth quarter. I read it wrong. Okay, 34, no points in the fourth quarter. There you go, Patrick. But nonetheless, good job by them. So some of the teams that we need to lose are losing. Can the Lakers lose another one tonight in LA to the Blazers? Blazers, an up and down team. Dennis, the players owe the fans. No, the players don't owe the fans wins. The players owe the fans effort. That's what they owe the fans. If you go out there and you do everything you can to win the game, that's why basketball's always worked in Sacramento. The number of years this team has been good and has been a quote-unquote contender, you can count on one hand. But the thing that has kept this fan base, in my opinion, loyal to this team, especially through the 90s, the late 80s and the early 90s, was they didn't get a lot of wins, but they played their asses off. They left it on the floor. That's what they owe to the fans. Now, do they need to pick up wins on their home court? Absolutely. It's befuddling why this team, going back actually to the opening of the Golden One Center, even the year the Kings made the playoffs, they didn't have an overwhelming home court advantage with their win-loss record. So they need to figure it out, but they don't owe the fans this win. Win it for the crowd. I love your passion, but I mean, I don't know. What's everybody think? Do the Kings owe a win to the fans? Producer, do the Kings owe a win to the fans? That's what Donald said. What do you think, producer? Producer's not sure. Shrugging. Producer? Do you have an answer? Yep, you do? Okay, here it comes. Sorry, Donald. Effort. Do they owe effort, producer? What? Okay, good. All right, just playing. Transition defense. Look, the Kings have one of the best transition defenses in the league, but it can be the worst very quickly at times. We saw in Memphis, the Kings have 3 guys back and still give up a long pass and ultimately a dunk, which did the Kings in. If you look at the formula for this Kings team and the way they win basketball games, it's winning the paint, it's getting to the free throw line more than their opponent, and really it's making a few threes. That's how this team wins. And then obviously turnovers. The turnovers have to be low. The Kings did a really good job last game against San Antonio. Only 11 turnovers. However, the Spurs 14, and the Kings turned that into 19 points. So those are all good things because most nights there's going to be a deficit for the Kings with the bench scoring. It's just not going to be there for a couple of reasons. The bench, not that great. The other reason, the starters are playing most of the minutes. So if you can keep that within 15, I think you're doing okay. But the 3-point attempts, I go back to this, the Kings are the second worst team in the NBA at defending the 3-pointer, but they also give up the second most threes in the NBA per game. if you can't bring the percentage down, bring the attempts down, run guys off of the line, and then keep your composure, keep your head. Look at the tale of two teams. When the Kings keep their heads like they did against Houston, they get their best win of the season. And that was probably the most heated game that the Kings had played all season. But when they lose their heads, they lose games. When they get caught up with the officials changing the whistle or feeling like they didn't get a call, that's where it goes a little bit downhill for them. So it's the small things that are going to make the big differences for this team tonight. Ryno getting hooked up sometimes. Yeah, I have AAA, Donald. Sometimes my car has to get hooked up if it doesn't start, my man. No, I'm just kidding. Charles, what's up? Hey, Ryno, if the Kings come out slow, what are the chances of a dub? Pretty good. And here's why. You're playing Utah. Now, if the Kings come out slow and they give up a ton of threes early on, because Utah doesn't do a lot well, but they shot the three ball pretty well in their last game against the Portland Trailblazers. In fact, they shot the three ball at a 43.8% clip. But here's the problem. They only shot 32 threes, and they still scored 141 points against the Trailblazers. If I look at the stats for the Kings this season, or the Jazz against the Kings this season, in the games that they have played, the Kings have allowed them to shoot 35.1% from beyond the arc. That's got to come down a little bit. It's got to come down a little bit. You got to do better than that. And then the Kings, even in their wins against the against the Jazz this year, they have been shooting 37.5%. So you want that up a little bit, but you have a good chance of coming back on them. You do. We saw that when they were undermanned. Think about who the Kings were without the last time they played Utah. No Sabonis, no DeMar DeRozan, and De'Aaron Fox was still able to spread them out. Okay, then, effort. I retract my statement. Good man, dude. Love it. Just kidding. It's always fun. Dude, tickets are expensive. Not going to lie. Get to Stockton. I've been saying it for a minute. You can get a floor seat for a decent price. You're paying a tenth of what you pay for a floor seat in Sacramento. You will see some of the same guys that you see in Sacramento playing in those games. It's a fun atmosphere and it's a good product. And by the way, the Stockton Kings are having a hell of a season so far this year. So I would get down there if I were you. If you can't afford a ticket in Sacramento, get to Stockton. One place that you can definitely afford is Bennett. If you hit them up when they are doing their specials, and good news, specials are pretty much every day of the week. Did anybody make it out for weekend brunch? Anybody? Weekend brunch at all three locations here in the greater Sacramento area. No worries if you didn't make it out for brunch. Tomorrow night, you've got Monday night wine and dine. You know what that means? You can get 2 entrees and a bottle of wine for under $70. And by the way, they have 60 different types of wine by the glass, all the same great cuts of prime seafood and steak, incredible sandwiches, great salads, a little bit of everything on the menu. Who was here just the other night that watched the game at Bennett's, had the meatloaf, and shared the secret about the meatloaf? Even the meatloaf is off the chains at Bennett's. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. You can check out their full menus. By the way, also happy hour Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 o'clock. They call it their sips and tastes, shareable plates, nice little cocktails, glasses of wine, beer, etc. Sit around their beautiful horseshoe bars at a couple of the locations. I know Dennis has checked that out in the past. All great stuff. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. You can look at all those specials, check out the menus. You can put your orders in to go, by the way, right now, or now going forward on their website. And also, if you're doing a holiday party, If you're doing a get together, an office party, they've got some beautiful private dining rooms at each location that they will set aside for you and your group. Same great food, same great service, private, intimate atmosphere. Just get to Bennett and tell them that you heard about them here on If You Don't Like That. Seriously, if you go to Bennett's and you don't like it, you let me know and we will make it right, because we have yet to hear anybody that has had a bad experience. In fact, when Grant's in town, that's where we're at 24/7. If my grandma was not 99 years old and she was not going to be at my mom's party today, we would have been at Bennett's. So, anyways, huge thanks to them for sponsoring today's show. Give me your final scores. What are you thinking the scores are going to be tonight? 168 lower level seats. Telling you, it's the dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing. It's a Ticketmaster thing, a Taylor Swift thing. Kings by 25. Expect nothing less if the Kings want any chance of stringing a few wins together consecutively. See, a win is a win is a win, especially when you have this much time off coming up. But I see you. You want to see them be consistent. You want to see them take care of the teams easily that are worse than them. Absolutely. Get it. Guard the three. Amen. You got Monk scoring a career high. All right. All right. 168 for the lower level. 50, somebody says, for the upper level at the cheapest. Interesting. I hope you know I was talking about your Kings. Yes, I know you were talking about my Kings jacket, brother. Yes, I know. I was being a smart arse. I'm not going to say the other word, because I have a 10-year-old in this house that might be listening. When DeRozan is pissed, he is Thorsack? Thorsack. What's Thorsack, Karen? That's different to me. I don't know what that is. The jalapeno cornbread. Yes. Yes. It is good. Always listen to the G-Man on the radio. The G-Man is a gem. I love the one thing that they got right was the commercial about 40 years here in Sacramento, how some things haven't changed with the G-Man narrating it. That was incredible. Really good stuff. DeRozan is consistent. I'm worried about running too many plays for him. Yeah, let's take that to the post game. Let's take that to the post game, because I think that's a legitimate concern, but I don't think it's plays being ran for him. I think it's him going to work. A lot of people don't realize this offense has a lot of freedom, or at least it did have a lot of freedom given to the players. But now that I can't stress it enough with what they're doing with the pick and roll and getting De'Aaron running and getting downhill without the ball, it's going to be really hard to guard this team if they don't. And the key is, if the Kings don't settle for threes, if they keep it going to the paint, you're going to see teams get into the penalty early. De'Aaron's going to fly by people. You're going to have open shots. It's going to be good stuff. BJ 115-105, Sucktown with the win. That's actually a term of endearment from BJ, for those that don't know. 132. What's up, Frog? 120. Sack Thor. Okay. I just wasn't up with all the lingo. Let's talk really quick before we get out of here a little bit more about what Utah did last game. Again, 141 points. They only got to the free throw line 23 times. Interesting there. 61 rebounds. They only put up 96 shots, so an efficient 141. Turnovers, 14. They did not turn it over. Now, here's an interesting one. Fast break points, 39. That Colin Sexton guy, he really challenges the Kings guards sometimes, especially when the Kings are defending. Colin Sexton doesn't always go straight up and down with his jump shot, so the Kings got to look at that very carefully. Also, they had 11 blocks last game, 11 blocks. So, Mike Brown's theory, spray the ball. Spray the ball. In terms of scoring last game, it was pretty balanced. You got 20. Collier, their rookie, Isaiah Collier, 12 points off the bench. Drew Eubanks, 12 points. And obviously, the bench got a ton of run. Here's the guy that has given the Kings fits in every single meeting. And here is my key to the game. We know the other keys. You guys have all put them in there. We've talked about defending the 3-ball, talked about transition. We talked about being physical without fouling. Pace is huge. When the Kings play at their pace, it's very hard for other teams to keep up with them at a sustained rate. It just doesn't happen. Other teams start fouling them. So there's a lot of things that go into playing your pace, most specifically as we keep getting your scores up. Lids says 114, 105. Dennis, 123, 112. Finchy thinks it's going to be high scoring. All right. So here's my key. Every time the Kings have played the Jazz this year, it has been too easy for John Collins to do whatever he wants. He's changed his body style up a little bit. He's been very aggressive, getting to the hoop. John Collins has opened up the inside far too many times against the Kings this season, thus opening up the outside. I want to see the Kings not let John Collins get to his spots and push them around, get second opportunities. The Kings need to do something to slow that down, or at the very least, adjust to it. You know what John Collins is going to try to do, and it's trying to get to the rim, and it's taken the easiest path to it. So can the Kings come together, communicate, play the right defense, take a charge, whatever it may be? Don't let John Collins do that again. Predictable. Do that, and I think the Kings are going to be all right tonight. All right, let's get you out. It's going to be a fun one. Enjoy the first half. Don't forget, Jerry Grant right here at intermission. We can't wait to talk about the first 24 minutes with all of you. Thanks for being with us tonight. Again, big thanks to Bennett's for sponsoring the pregame show. Go Kings, light the damn beam. We are looking for a win tonight, but first, the one and only Jerry Reynolds with us at half. We will see you after the first 24 minutes. We'll see if anybody's predictions were right. And take care, John Collins. Please do it. So long, y'all. Appreciate it. Each and every one of you.